All right, y'all. Ooh, I've had probably one of the craziest weeks of my life. Um, Now that we're together, I'm going to share something with you that I have not really spoken about at all. I just switched over to a plant-based diet. So I'm not really eating meat anymore like I used to. And I've gone all plant-based. Let me tell you something. And this is the truth. It seems like my energy level went from 0 to 1,000. It does make a difference when you eat plant-based. It just seems like I'm a lot more energized now than I ever been before in a long time, I can say. I just feel like I got so much energy now. So it's only been less than a week since I've started plant-based, but I already see a huge difference. And I can understand how many of our forefathers ate a plant-based diet because you just feel so much healthier. So I'm going to continue on my path. It's not, I thought it might be a little difficult, but I'm finding that it's not difficult at all going plant-based. It really isn't. It may sound like, oh, I can't do that. I need my meat. I need this. I need that. But you would be shocked at how easy it really is to transition onto it. It's not bad at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into our forefathers again, this time Benjamin and Zebulun. I love listening to the testament of our forefathers because in each one you can see where when they lived, they had their flaws, but they had so many good qualities. Whatever their flaws were, it was not completely overshadowed about those things. And it also makes them human. They showed their emotions, they cared about their families, and these testaments were often given at the end of their life. So it gives us sort of a view of what the world was like when they were alive. And the beautiful part is when we finally make it into the kingdom, we're going to meet our forefathers. They're all going to be there. We're going to see them for real. And I can't wait for that day. I can't wait for the day where I look up and I'm meeting Judah and I'm meeting Benjamin and I'm meeting, Reuben, all of them, I want to meet all of them. So let me go ahead and share my screen and then we can get started. Okay, y'all, give me a 1 if you can see my screen, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody in the chat. Give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Tuda Rabbah. All right. All right, we're starting with Benjamin.
Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, the sons of Jacob the Patriarch. Testament of Benjamin, the 12th son of Jacob and Rachel. Chapter 1. A copy of the words of Benjamin, which he testified to his sons, having lived 125 years. He kissed them and said, just as Isaac was born to Abraham in his old age, so I was born to Jacob. Since Rachel, my mother, died as she was bearing me, I had no milk from her, but was nursed instead by Bilhah, her maidservant. For after Rachel bore Joseph, she was sterile for 12 years. She prayed to the Most High with fasting, and conceived and gave birth to me. My father loved Rachel exceedingly and prayed that he might see 2 sons born from her. For this reason I was called Benjamin, that is, son of days. Chapter 2. When I came to Joseph in Egypt and my brother recognized me, he said, what did they say to my father when they sold me? And I replied to him, they spattered your shirt with blood and sent it to him and said, do you know if this shirt belongs to your son? And Joseph said to me, yes, brother. When they stripped off my shirt and gave me to the Ishmaelites, they gave me a loincloth, beat me, and told me to run. One of them who had whipped me was met by a lion, and it ate him. So his partners were terrified and kept me under a looser rein. Chapter 3. Now, my children, love the Most High, power of heaven and earth. Keep his commandments. Pattern your life after the good and pious man Joseph. Let your thoughts incline to the good, as you know to be so with me, because he who has the right set of mind sees everything rightly. Fear the Most High and love your neighbor. Even if the spirits of Beliar seek to derange you with all sorts of wicked oppression, they will not dominate you any more than they dominated Joseph, my brother. How many men wanted to destroy him, and the Most High looked out for him. For the person who fears the Most High and loves his neighbor cannot be plagued by the spirit of Beliar, since he is sheltered by the fear of the Most High. Neither man's schemes, not those of animals, can prevail over him, for he is aided in living by this, by the love which he has toward his neighbor. Joseph also urged our father to pray for his brothers, that the Most High would not hold them accountable for their sin which they so wickedly committed against him. And Jacob cried out, O noble child, you have crushed the inner feelings of Jacob your father. He embraced him and kept kissing him for 2 hours, saying, this is the last verse of chapter 3. There are 2 translations given of Jacob's saying. The first translation says, through you will be fulfilled the heavenly prophecy concerning the Lamb of the Most High, the Savior of the world, because the unspotted one will be betrayed by lawless men, and the sinless one will die for impious men by the blood of the covenant for the salvation of the Gentiles and of Israel and the destruction of Beliar and his servants. The second translation says, in you will be fulfilled the heavenly prophecy, which says that the spotless one will be defiled by lawless men, and the sinless one will die for the sake of impious men. Chapter 4. See then, my children, what is the goal of the good man. Be imitators of him in his goodness because of his compassion, in order that you may wear crowns of glory. For a good man does not have a blind eye, but he is merciful to all, even though they may be sinners. And even if persons plot against him for evil ends, by doing good this man conquers evil, being watched over by the Most High. He loves those who wrong him as he loves his own life. If anyone glorifies himself, he holds no envy. If anyone becomes rich, he is not jealous. If anyone is brave, he praises him. He loves the moderate person. He shows mercy to the impoverished. To the ill, he shows compassion. He fears the Most High. He loves the person who has the gift of a good spirit as he loves his own life. Chapter 5. If your mind is set toward good, even evil men will be at peace with you. The dissolute will respect you and will turn back to the good. The greedy will not only abstain from their passion, but will give to the oppressed the things which they covetously hold. If you continue to do good, even the unclean spirits will flee from you, and wild animals will fear you. For where someone has within himself respect for good works, and has light in the understanding, darkness will slink away from that person. For if anyone wantonly attacks a pious man, he repents, since the pious man shows mercy to the one who abused him, and maintains silence. And if anyone betrays a righteous man, the righteous man prays. Even though for a brief time he may be humbled, later he will appear far more illustrious, as happened with Joseph, my brother. Chapter 6. The deliberations of the good man are not in the control of the deceitful spirit, Beliar, for the angel of peace guides his life. For he does not look with passionate longing at corruptible things, nor does he accumulate wealth out of love for pleasure. He does not find delight in pleasure, nor does he grieve his neighbor, nor does he stuff himself with delicacies, nor is he led astray by visual excitement. The Most High is his lot. The good set of mind does not receive glory or dishonor from men, nor does it know deceit, or lying, or conflict, or abuse. For the Most High dwells in him, illumines his life, and he rejoices in everything at every appropriate time. The good set of mind does not talk from both sides of its mouth, praises and curses, abuse and honor, calm and strife, hypocrisy and truth, poverty and wealth, but it has one disposition, uncontaminated and pure toward all men. There is no duplicity in its perception or its hearing. Whatever it does or speaks or perceives, it knows that the Most High is watching over its life, for he cleanses his mind in order that he will not be suspected of wrongdoing, either by men or by the Most High. The works of Beliar are twofold and have in them no integrity. Chapter 7. So I tell you, my children, flee from the evil of Beliar, because he offers a sword to those who obey him. And the sword is the mother of the 7 evils. It receives them through Beliar. The first is moral corruption, the second is destruction, the third is oppression, the fourth is captivity, the fifth is want, the sixth is turmoil, the seventh is desolation. It is for this reason that Cain was handed over by the Most High for 7 punishments. For in every 100th year the Most High brought upon him one plague. When he was 200 years old, suffering began, and in his 900th year he was deprived of life, for he was condemned on account of Abel, his brother, as a result of all his evil deeds. But Lamech was condemned by 70 times 7. Until eternity, those who are like Cain in their moral corruption and hatred of brother shall be punished with a similar judgment. Chapter 8. But you, my children, run from evil, corruption, and hatred of brothers. Cling to goodness and love. For the person with a mind that is pure with love does not look on a woman for the purpose of having sexual relations. He has no pollution in his heart, because upon him is resting the Spirit of the Most High. For just as the sun is unpolluted, though it touches dung and slime, but dries up both and drives off the bad odor, so also the pure mind, though involved with the corruptions of earth, edifies instead and is not itself corrupted. Chapter 9. From the words of Enoch the righteous, I tell you that you will be sexually promiscuous like the promiscuity of the Sodomites and will perish, with few exceptions. You shall resume your actions with loose women, and the kingdom of the Most High will not be among you, for he will take it away forthwith. But in your allotted place will be the temple of the Most High, and the latter temple will exceed the former in glory. The 12 tribes shall be gathered there in all the nations until such time as the Most High shall send forth his salvation through the ministration of the unique prophet. He shall enter the first temple, and there he will be abused and will be raised up on wood. And the temple curtain shall be torn, and the Spirit of the Most High will move on to all the nations as a fire is poured out. And he shall ascend from Hades and shall pass on from earth to heaven. I understand how humble he will be on the earth and how splendid in heaven. Chapter 10. When Joseph was in Egypt, I earnestly desired to see his appearance and the form of his face. And through my father Jacob's prayers, I saw him, while I was awake during the day, just as he was, his whole appearance. After he had spoken these things to them, he said, You know then, my children, that I am dying. Do the truth, each of you to his neighbor. Keep the law of the Most High and his commandments. For I leave you these things instead of an inheritance. Give them then to your children for an eternal possession. This is what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did. They gave us all these things as an inheritance, saying, Keep the Most High's commandments until the Most High reveals his salvation to all the nations. And then you will see Enoch and Seth and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob being raised up at the right hand in great joy. Then shall we also be raised, each of us over our tribe, and we shall prostrate ourselves before the heavenly King. Then all shall be changed, some destined for glory, others for dishonor. For the Most High first judges Israel for the wrong she has committed, and then he shall do the same for all the nations. Then he shall judge Israel by the chosen Gentiles, as he tested Esau by the Midianites who loved their brothers. You, therefore, my children, may your lot come to be with those who fear the Most High. Therefore, my children, if you live in holiness, in accord with the Most High's commands, you shall again dwell with me in hope. All Israel will be gathered to the Most High. Chapter 11. And I shall no longer be called a rapacious wolf on account of your rapine, but the Most High's worker, providing food for those who do good works. And in latter times there shall rise up the beloved of the Most High, from the lineage of Judah and Levi, one who does his good pleasure by his mouth, enlightening all the nations with new knowledge. The light of knowledge will mount up in Israel for her salvation, seizing them like a wolf coming upon them, and gathering the Gentiles until the consummation of the ages. He shall be in the congregations of the Gentiles and among the rulers, like a musical air in the mouths of all. He shall be written of in sacred books, both his work and his word, and he shall be the Most High's chosen one forever. He shall range widely among them, like my father Jacob, saying, He shall fill up what was lacking of your tribe. Chapter 12. And when he had finished his statements, he said, I command you, my children, carry my bones up out of Egypt. Bury me in Hebron near my fathers. Benjamin died last of all in his 125th year at a ripe old age, and they placed him in a coffin. And in the 91st year after the departure of the sons of Israel for Egypt, they and their brothers took up the bones of their fathers secretly, because of the war with Canaan, and buried them in Hebron by the feet of their fathers. Then they returned from the land of Canaan and resided in Egypt until the day of the departure from Egypt.
All right. That was pretty good. All right. So this is Benjamin. So now we have to go over to Zebulun, you know. So as you can see, just hearing this, when we make it into the kingdom, all of our forefathers, they're going to be raised up. So we will see Benjamin too. All right, so we're going to get to Zebulun. Let's see. All right, here we go.
The Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, the sons of Jacob the Patriarch. The Testament of Zebulun, the sixth son of Jacob and Leah. Chapter 1. A copy of the Testament of Zebulun, which he decreed for his sons in the 114th year of his life, 32 years after the death of Joseph. And he said to them, Listen to me, sons of Zebulun, heed the words of your father. I am Zebulun, a good gift to my parents. For when I was born, my father prospered exceedingly in flocks and herds, when he got his share of them by means of the spotted rods. I am not aware, my children, that I have sinned in all my days, except in my mind. Nor do I recall having committed a transgression, except what I did to Joseph in ignorance. Because in a compact with my brothers, I kept from telling my father what had been done, although I wept much in secret. I was afraid of my brothers because they had all agreed that if anyone disclosed the secret, he should be killed by a sword. Even when they wanted to kill him, I exhorted them with tears not to commit this lawless act. Chapter 2. Simeon and Gad came upon Joseph to kill him, falling on his face. Joseph began to say to them, Have mercy on me, my brothers. Pity the deep feelings of Jacob, our father. Do not put your hands on me to pour out innocent blood, because I have not sinned against you. If I have sinned, discipline me as one trains a child, but do not lay your hand on me for the sake of our father, Jacob. As he was saying these words, I was moved to pity and began to weep. My courage grew weak, and all the substance of my inner being became faint within my soul. Joseph wept, and I with him. My heart pounded, the joints of my body shook, and I could not stand. And when he saw me crying with him, while the others were coming to kill him, he rushed behind me, beseeching them. Reuben stood up and said, My brothers, let us not kill him, but let us throw him into one of those dry cisterns which our fathers dug, and in which there is to be found no water. Accordingly, the Most High prohibited any water from rising up in them, so that Joseph's preservation might be accomplished. And the Most High did this until the time when they sold him to the Ishmaelites. Chapter 3. I had no share in the price received for Joseph, my children, but Simeon, Gad, and our other brothers accepted the money, bought shoes for themselves, their wives, and their children. We will not use the money for eating, which is the price of our brother's blood, but we will trample it underfoot in response to his having said he would rule over us. Let us see what comes of his dreams. Accordingly, it is written in the book of the law of Moses that anyone who is unwilling to raise up posterity for his brother, his shoe should be removed, and one should spit in his face. Joseph's brothers did not want their brother to live, and the Most High removed Joseph's shoe from them. For when they arrived in Egypt, their shoes were removed by Joseph's servants before the gate, and thus they did obeisance to Joseph in the manner of the Pharaoh. Not only did they do obeisance, but they were spit upon, prostrating themselves forthwith before him. And thus they were humiliated before the Egyptians. After that, the Egyptians heard all the wicked things that we had done to Joseph. Chapter 4. After they had thrown him into the pit, they sat down and began to eat. As for me, I tasted nothing for 2 days and 2 nights, being moved with compassion for Joseph. And Judah joined me in abstaining from food. He stayed near the cistern because he was afraid that Simeon and Gad might go out and kill Joseph. When they observed that I was not eating, they assigned me to guard him until he might be sold. He remained in the cistern 3 days and 3 nights, so that when he was sold, he was starving. When Reuben heard that Joseph had been sold while he was away, he tore his clothing in mourning, saying, "How can I look my father in the face?" He took money and ran after the merchants, but found no one, since they had left the highway and had traveled by a shortcut through the region of the Troglodytes. And Reuben ate no food that day. Then Dan came to him and said, "Do not weep, do not mourn, for I have found what we should say to our father Jacob. Let us kill a goat's kid and dip Joseph's coat in its blood. Then we shall say, 'Do you recognize whether this is your son's garment?'" For they had taken off from Joseph his father's coat when they were about to sell him, and put on him an old garment of a slave. Simeon had the garment and was unwilling to give it to him, preferring to cut it up with the sword, since he was burning with anger that he had not killed him. But we all rose in opposition to him and said, "If you don't give it up, we shall say you alone did this evil deed in Israel." So he gave it up, and they did as Dan had stated. Chapter 5. Now, my children, I tell you to keep the Most High's commands. Show mercy to your neighbor, have compassion on all, not only human beings, but to dumb animals. For these reasons the Most High blessed me, and when all my brothers were ill, I alone passed without sickness. For the Most High knows the purpose of each man. Have mercy in your inner being, my children, because whatever anyone does to his neighbor, the Most High will do to him. For the sons of my brothers were sickly and died on account of Joseph, because they did not act in mercy out of their inner compassion. But you, my sons, were preserved free from illness, as you know. When I was in Canaan catching fish by the sea for our father Jacob, many were drowned in the sea, but I survived unharmed. Chapter 6. I was the first to make a boat to sail on the sea, because the Most High gave me understanding and wisdom concerning it. I positioned a rudder behind it, put up a sail on a straight piece of wood in the middle. In it I sailed along the shores, catching fish for my father's household until we went to Egypt. Being compassionate, I gave some of my catch to every stranger. If anyone were a traveler or sick or aged, I cooked the fish, prepared it well, and offered to each person according to his need, being either convivial or consoling. Therefore the Most High made my catch to be an abundance of fish, for whoever shares with his neighbor receives multifold from the Most High. I fished for 5 years, sharing with every person whom I saw, and sufficing for my father's household. Summers I fished, winters I tended the flock of my brothers. Chapter 7. Now I will tell you what I did. I saw a man suffering from nakedness in the wintertime, and I had compassion on him. I stole a garment secretly from my own household and gave it to the man in difficulty. You, therefore, my children, on the basis of the Most High's caring for you, without discrimination, be compassionate and merciful to all. Provide for every person with a kind heart. If at any time you do not have anything to give to the one who is in need, be compassionate and merciful in your inner self. For when my hand could not find the means for contributing to a needy person, I walked with him for 7 days. Weeping, my inner being was in torment with sympathy for him. Chapter 8. You also, my children, have compassion toward every person with mercy, in order that the Most High may be compassionate and merciful to you. In the last days, the Most High will send his compassion on the earth. Whenever he finds compassionate mercy in that person, he will dwell. To the extent that a man has compassion on his neighbor, to that extent the Most High has mercy on him. For when we went down into Egypt, Joseph did not hold a grudge against us. When he saw me, he was moved with compassion. Whomever you see, do not harbor resentment, my children, Love one another and do not calculate the wrong done by each to his brothers. This shatters unity and scatters all kinship and stirs up the soul. He who recalls evil receives neither compassion nor mercy. Chapter 9. Pay heed to the streams. When they flow in the same channel, they carry along stones, wood, and sand. But if they are divided into many channels, the earth swallows them and they become unproductive. And you shall be thus if you are divided. Do not be divided into two heads, because everything the Most High has made has a single head. He provides 2 shoulders, 2 hands, 2 feet, but all members obey one head. In the writing of the fathers, I came to know that in the last days you shall defect from the Most High, and you shall be divided in Israel, and you shall follow after 2 kings. You shall commit every abomination and worship every idol. Your enemies will take you captive, and you shall reside among the Gentiles with all sorts of sickness and tribulation and oppression of soul. And thereafter you will remember the Most High and repent, and he will turn you around, because he is merciful and compassionate. He does not bring a charge at wickedness against the sons of men, since they are flesh, and the spirits of deceit lead them astray in all their actions. And thereafter the king himself will rise upon you, the light of righteousness, with healing and compassion in his wings. He will liberate every captive of the sons of men from the lyre, and every spirit of error will be trampled down. He will turn all nations to being zealous for him, and you shall see the king in a human form. He whom the Most High will choose, Jerusalem is his name. You will provoke him to wrath by the wickedness of your works, and you will be rejected until the time of the end. Chapter 10. And now, my children, do not grieve because I am dying, nor be depressed because I am leaving you. I shall rise again in your midst as a leader among your sons, and I shall be glad in the midst of my tribe. As many as keep the law of the Most High and the commandments of Zebulun their father. But the Most High shall bring down fire on the impious and will destroy them to all generations. I am now hurrying to my rest like my fathers, but you fear the Most High, your power, with all your strength all the days of your life. When he said this, he fell into a beautiful sleep, and his sons placed him in a coffin. Later they carried him up to Hebron and buried him with his fathers.
Wow. Wow. You know, I really like that. I like how at the end of their lives, the one thing they wanted to stress was
the testament of the 12
we already did that one. I love how at the end of their lives, they all stress to their family to keep the commandments and to fear the Most High. I like that. You know, they never forgot to let their families know to stay on the right path, even when they're gone. So that was both Benjamin and Zebulun. So we'll finish it up. You know, Reuben is kind of short, so I will probably do Reuben and one of the other brothers. I'll see which ones are left. I don't think there's too many that are left that we didn't cover so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a perfect message to end with. Keep the commandments and fear the Most High. And judging from everything we're looking at of what's going on this planet, we better fear him. Look at what he's done to destroy this place. This place is so bad off now. It's not even funny. And these folks that are at the top, they can't do nothing about it, y'all. They can't do nothing about what's going on with America. So the testaments are really beautiful. I like how they even did this, you know, at the end of each brother's life of the 12 tribes, they all left a message to the family, and a message that we can listen to even to this very day. I love that. To me, just listening to each one is priceless. It really, truly is. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our time together for this week. We'll definitely be coming together again next week to do this again. And may the Most High continue to keep his hedge of protection around you in the four corners of the world. And as he's raining down his vengeance and judgment on the Gentile world, may your needs all be met. May you keep shelter and food and need for nothing, because our Heavenly Father got your back. Hallelujah. Peace, family.